Halloween fans, what is going on? Ryan O'Toole here, back again for another classic movie review. That is right, guys, with the brand new Halloween movie directed by David Gordon Green coming out this weekend. What better time to review the very first film in this franchise that started it all? And not just that, to celebrate the month of Halloween, since it is coming up, we're reviewing Halloween, the classic directed by John Carpenter, which came out in 1978 and starred Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode and Donald Pleasence as Dr. Sam Loomis. And I am not reviewing this classic alone. I got a special guest here with me today. You can see by the thumbnail. He's got a beautiful face. He loves horror movies as well. That is Zach Pope. Zach, what is going on, man?
What's going on, man? I'm ready to talk Halloween. This is my second time ever watching it in my life, and I absolutely cannot express enough how much this film holds up, and I can't wait to talk about it, man.
I agree, man, because this was my first time watching all the Halloween movies leading up to this movie right here. And I could easily say it's a waste of time, because hearing that the new one has nothing to do with any of the sequels. It has to do with the first one. And the first one is what it's all about and what we're talking about here today. So, Halloween, again, it's a classic. I'm not going to talk much about the plot. You guys know what the plot to Halloween is. Michael Myers, at 6 years old, in Halloween night on Haddonfield, he murders his sister cold blood. And now 15 years later, Dr. Sam Loomis, his psychiatrist, is after him. Michael's going back to Haddonfield to murder and stalk some teenagers, including Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who was 20 years old in the making of that film. And we have Halloween. Zach, let me start with you, man. What was your first experience like with Halloween? When was the first time you watched it?
So the first time I ever watched Halloween was back in, I think, my 8th grade of junior high, and it was all my friends had gotten together, and none of us had watched it, so we watched it, and I'll admit, it actually got us. Like, it's psychologically messed up. And a lot of it is like that. Like, the jump scares, some of them actually do still hold up, and I really do appreciate a lot of that. I appreciate a lot of what Halloween does in its aspects and what John Carpenter does within this movie. I think one of the strongest things about Halloween, though, and I think this is the reason it holds up, is the way that John Carpenter directed this movie. The way that he directs the shots, directs the story, and everything within it really holds up to today. Even though some of the scares might, and some of the dialogue doesn't as well, it was the way he directed this film. And this film is actually one of the main reasons that I got into loving horror. And then I just rewatched this for the second time a couple weeks back on 4K, which, if you have a 4K player, buy this 4K. It's mind-blowing awesome. But just, what can you not say about Halloween? This is literally a classic. It's one of the few classic horror films that I really do think holds up.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you, Zach. And I agree, John Carpenter's direction, for what he had to do to make this film, the studio and all that, this movie only had a $300,000 budget to make. It was made for nothing, and it's one of the most profitable films of all time. And another thing about Halloween 2 is what makes it so great and so memorable is the score by John Carpenter. The way he sets up everything, especially the opening credits with that jack-o'-lantern. Iconic stuff. You're hearing the dun 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 dun. It gets you in that Halloween mood, and then it cuts right to the opening scene, which is one of my favorite opening scenes of all time. This POV shot of young Michael Myers grabbing that kitchen knife to go murder his sister. Even though the scream is over the top, it's still iconic.
Those titties weren't, though.
Those titties were not. Absolutely, they're amazing. Now let's talk about some of the characters in the movie, starting with Laurie Strode, played by 20-year-old Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis was fantastic as Laurie Strode in the original Halloween. Starts off as a really innocent girl. She's a babysitter for young Tommy Doyle, and she just does everything like a normal teenager. She doesn't smoke like her friends do. She doesn't have sex like... Oh, I wish I did. But Laurie's just that typical girl, and she is the smartest character in the film, outsmarting Michael Myers in any way. Jamie Lee Curtis was fantastic, and you also have Donald Pleasence as Dr. Sam Loomis. Great character in the first movie. He continues to be in a lot of sequels in this franchise. After 6, he passed away, but Donald Pleasence was fantastic as Sam Loomis, and Michael Myers, the killer himself. What a scary-ass villain he was in the first movie. Because the best part about Michael Myers is that you know nothing about the guy except he murders his sister. the more suspenseful your villain is, the more things you don't know about him, the scarier they are. And that's what Michael is. What were your thoughts, Zach, on all those things I said?
So you are correct on a lot of those. I think they're decent performances. I'll be honest, though. They're okay to me. I think they're fine performances. I don't think that's what's the strongest thing in here. But the thing going to Laurie Strode's character, that's the most compelling character here. Because she is different than most horror characters that we get. You get most of these horror characters and all these teenagers are obsessed with sex, drugs, alcohol. And she's not. And that's one of the main reasons that she survives. Because she's not obsessed with that. She's obsessed with just living a normal life. And I like those aspects of what John Carpenter does in here. Fun fact, though. Ryan, do you know what Michael Myers' mask is from?
Yeah, it's a William Shatner mask that costs $2 spray painted.
Awesome. I'm
white.
glad to hear you had that. I'm glad to hear you know that. And did you know Jamie Lee Curtis actually went and shopped for everyone on set for all the outfits?
I did not know that, but yeah, let's talk about that mask. It didn't take much at all to get that mask, a William Shatner Star Trek mask. And you think, how could Michael Myers be one of the scariest, most iconic horror monsters of all time? And he is, and how scary he is in the first movie. Like, he comes out of nowhere. In the first half, he's stalking Laurie Strode and her friends. But at the end, he really is a scary-ass dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so many iconic shots in this movie. My favorite, by far, is Laurie Strode crying in the corner.
Yes.
You see Michael's face. That is an amazing shot
good.
right there.
I think a lot of people forget... I think a lot of people forget that this is an independent film. Like, this isn't a big-budget horror film. This is very much one of the very first... one of the very first independent films.
Yeah, I totally agree. It does feel like an independent type of horror film. It doesn't have the typical jump scare cliches. Like, Halloween was that film to start off the classic slashers. Then we got Friday the 13th. Then we got Nightmare on Elm Street. Then we got Scream. All of these franchises exist now. Chucky, because of Halloween. And Alien as well. Many of these classic horror franchises, this was the one to start it off. And John Carpenter executed this film perfectly. And so many other things we could talk about here, but Halloween's not a perfect movie, and it's not a perfect movie. It definitely has some flaws. I think my biggest flaw with Halloween is something you mentioned earlier, Zach. The other actors in the movie, they're not as memorable as Sam Loomis or Laurie Strode or Michael Myers. They give terrible performances, but the film works because of the lore and the world John Carpenter created. Like, some of the other characters in the movie, you have Laurie's friend and her father, who's a cop. I found those characters just to be forgettable.
I agree. I think they're there for the sake of being there, and there's a lot of issues with that. Can I mention one thing, though, that I absolutely just I've never liked in this film? It's a small nitpick.
Okay.
How can Michael Myers drive around in that damn car with the mask and no one say anything? Like, this man is driving down the street with a fucking mask on. Like, if I drove down the street with a mask on, everyone's gonna be taking pictures of me now. Like, I just couldn't help but laugh every single time I saw that. And it's such a small nitpick, but it just doesn't work for me in today's modern age of horror films. But you are right. All the other characters, you don't care. You're just like, kill him, Michael, kill him, Michael, kill him, Michael, kill him. But I do want to mention one other thing. Going back to that POV shot in the beginning, I wanted more of that, because the reason Michael Myers is so scary is you don't know anything about him. That's why the sequels weren't that good, because they gave you more details about them, and it's like, you don't want to know more about him. You want to know less about him.
Yeah, Rob Zombie especially. I don't want to know that Michael Myers has a white trash family and all that shit. I don't give a shit. Like, this is how Michael Myers should be. You don't know anything about this guy. He's so fucking creepy, and he's a stalker. That, I agree, that the car thing is ridiculous, but it's the 70s. People were stupid. Especially Sam Loomis. You didn't even see him,
I love when he's whispering in the woods, "Little kids, run away! Little kids, run away!" It's like, why can't you just sit in front of the house? Like Michael Myers is gonna come up behind you anyways.
Exactly.
And when Michael Myers kills that girl in the car, thank you, Michael. She was annoying.
Yes.
Fucking whore.
And that's the thing. I love many of the deaths.
Yes, they're so good.
Like, a couple of them were very satisfying.
They really are, and they hold up.
I love that ghost death. That ghost death is fucking awesome. No, my favorite death is the guy hanging from the door.
Yeah.
And Michael is just a G, man. The way he killed that guy and he's just looking fucking awesome.
No, see, I'm with you on the ghost one. When he has the ghost thing up, she's like, "Come here, baby, get me a beer," and it's just, again, if she wasn't obsessed with sex and alcohol, she probably would have lived. And I just like how he put the glasses on over the ghost. Like, it just added to, like, it's so cheesy at times, but at the same time it works. And Halloween cements itself as being one of the most classic horror films in general. Like, I love Halloween for that. It's 1978. It holds up for that. The score is so fucking memorable. And it's just one of the best horror films ever made.
Yeah, I want to talk about the ending to the movie. The way they set everything up. And Laurie Strode, throughout the movie, she's innocent, and she's crying and everything. She's scared of Myers, and she fights back against Michael Myers and all that. And a lot of people complain about Laurie Strode just being weak and all that. Wait till you see Halloween H2O, because holy damn, she goes all Ellen Ripley and shit. But yeah, Laurie Strode and all that. The ending with Sam Loomis shooting Michael Myers 6 times. The way they do it in Halloween 2 is ridiculous, because they do it in the front of the house instead of the back. But you actually do see Michael Myers' face for like 2 seconds. But that's a cool thing I saw when I watched the movie.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And to be honest, I don't love the ending. I like it. It's fine. And it sets up, like, it leaves it open. You know what I mean? Which is nice. It's nice. I don't hate the ending again. Like, I think it's nice. But I feel like the whole film, it's like it built and built and built and built and built. Climax happens with Laurie in the house, which is just awesome. Like, when she sees all the dead bodies and everything, like, and again, going to that one thing where you just see Michael's face appear. It's just great. Another great scene in that, towards that ending part, is where she's sitting there in the hallway, and you just see him lay back up. And it's just so creepy. But, it just works. And to be honest, one of my favorite scenes that's very, you know what's going to happen, but because the film's been out for so long, but you're sitting there gripping your fist, is when he's in the closet trying to hit her. And he's getting tangled. A little bit stupid. Like, just back up, open the door, and get in. But it's intense, and I like it.
I agree with everything you said, Zach. So, all in all, Halloween is a classic. And what else needs to be said that hasn't already been said already? John Carpenter directed the fuck out of this film. It's fantastic. The way the characters work, the way the score is felt throughout the film, and just the constant feeling of suspense. That's what John Carpenter nailed. The sequels didn't do that at all, and this film did it. And I'm totally excited for David Gordon Green's new Halloween film.
So out of your rating scale, Ryan, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think it's a pretty solid horror film. It cements itself as a classic. In fact, I really love this film, even for its little nitpicks. It's a fun Halloween film. This is one of the films you have to watch every October, and I absolutely enjoy it. Even for those little cheesy moments, I dig it, and I love the score. Love the score.
Funny score, Zach, because that's my score as well. 4.5 out of 5 stars for John Carpenter's Halloween. Not a perfect film, but damn, one of the best horror films and slashers of all time. So that is it, guys. That was our retro review for Halloween 1978. Have you guys seen Halloween 1978? If you haven't, what are you doing? The new one's coming out next week, so go watch it. Zach, thank you so much for joining me for this review, man. I love our collaborations. But tell my viewers where they can find you on your social media.
Well, there's a couple of spots you guys can find me on the interwebs. You can find me on Rotten or Fresh, Ryan O'Toole's amazing little show. He's wearing a shirt right now. I love that show. I love what he's done with it. It's brilliant. You guys should go check out all those episodes if you haven't yet. Of course, you guys can also find me at Zach Pope on YouTube. You can find me. I'm just sitting there smiling, being happy, and reviewing movies and doing all sorts of geeky stuff. Plus, you can find me at Sandwich on Film's website and also on Phoenix Film Critics Society's website. Check me out. Thanks, guys. And thank you so much for having me, Ryan. I love doing these collabs with you.
Me too, man. Me too. Yes, go check out Zach, guys. His links are in the description below because he is awesome-tacular. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, go subscribe to me and Zach as well. And all my social media links are in the description down below. click that notification bell on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next video.